Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us on a beautiful Saturday morning. I know that I'm so glad that the rain kind of stopped for a little bit, so we get to have a sunny day that after the story hour we get to go out into, which is really nice. I'm Car Johnson, I'm the event coordinator for Green Apple, and I'm really excited to welcome both Emma Bland-Smith and Stephanie Wildman for this collaborative story hour that we have today. We are celebrating both Breath by Breath and The Fabulous Fanny Farmer. Let's get a hand for both of our authors doing this today. Thank you so kindly. I don't have too many announcements other than if you need to know where the restroom is, please do ask me and I will show you. We have books for sale by both of our authors at they are at the back desk here, but you can purchase them at the front because I don't have a register back here. So logistics, we don't need to go into it. And we're going to hear a little bit of, we're going to hear from each of these books today by both of our authors. They are right here, and you can ask them questions about their books. And we have some activities planned as well for afterward. And please do check out our full event calendar online at greenapplebooks.com. We have a really great season ahead of us, including the event that you are currently at. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the two authors joining us. First, Emma Bland-Smith is a librarian and the award-winning author of many books for children, including Mr. McCloskey's Marvelous Mallards, How Science Saved the Eiffel Tower, and The Gardener of Alcatraz. Emma lives in an old creaky house in San Francisco with her family, pets, and too many cookbooks and coffee mugs. And her latest book, The Fabulous Fanny Farmer, is part of the reason you're here today. Let's give one more hand for Emma Bland-Smith. And Stephanie Wildman is the author of two previous children's books, including Treasure Hunt and Brave in the Water. She is a professor emerita at Santa Clara Law, where she directed the school's Center for Social Justice and Public Service, which I think is very cool. She also earned the Great Teacher Award from the Society of American Law Teachers, and her latest book, Breath by Breath, is part of the reason we are here today. Let's give a hand for Stephanie Wildman. And I think we're going to hear from Emma first, so I will let you take it away.
Okay. Well, I was going to introduce the book, which Car already did, but I do want to mention the illustrator, who is Susan Regan, because the pictures, I mean, the words are obviously fabulous, but the pictures are incredible as well. And so for those of you who don't know Fanny Farmer, this is my cookbook that I bought in college when I didn't have a lot of money for books, so it's a paperback. So this book is over 50 years old, and you can see I use it. I still use it. So I was so excited to find out that Emma was going to write about Fanny Farmer, and I've learned some things from reading the book. So I think she's going to read it, and I'm going to show pictures when she does it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
great. I just thought I would say, I just brought this along. This is how when my daughter was in 4th grade, she had, for her class, they had to dress up as a famous woman, or famous woman inventor, or famous inventor, or something like that. So she dressed up as Fanny Farmer, and who I had really never, I had a Fanny Farmer cookbook, but I didn't know anything about the author. For all I knew, she was invented, like Betty Crocker. And I learned that they called her the mother of measurement, and she was supposed to have invented standard measurements like cups and teaspoons. And so immediately I thought, everyone loves books about inventors, and so I started doing research, and I learned that she didn't exactly invent the standard measurements, but she did really popularize them by kind of pushing them and promoting them from her platform. So anyway, but I learned all kinds of other cool things about her and why she was so amazing. She overcame all these obstacles, and she did all this cool stuff a long, long time ago. And so that became my next book. And this, I just thought I would hold this up. So this is, there have been so many editions of the Fanny Farmer cookbook. It came out in 1896.
Wow.
And this is not the oldest. I bought this on eBay. It was the oldest one that I could afford. I think this is 1923. But it basically looks, it's pretty much exactly the same as the original 1896 cookbook. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, it's evolved a lot over time. And I love it when people bring their own and that they tell me they actually cook from it. And so cool. Thank you for bringing that.
Thanksgiving turkeys.
I love that. You guys can come and sit here. It's my husband and my dog. Okay, should we go?
Yeah.
So
Grab a copy over here. If you're going to read that one, we'll grab this one.
okay, I think Stephanie's gonna hold up the pictures.
Oh, sure.
While I read. All right.
We're going to buy this one anyway, so it's fine. I'll get it up.
All right. Oh, and there are 2 recipes in it, which I had always dreamed of writing a cookbook or just having a recipe in a book. So that was sort of a dream come true for me. It's really fun. Okay. And yeah, Susan Reagan's illustrations are incredible. I think if anything, she did more research than I did just to make everything absolutely, you know, of the era. It's just really, really cool. Okay. In a house near Boston in the late 1800s, Fanny Farmer sat at the kitchen table, swinging her legs and peeling potatoes, or so we can imagine. Like many girls across America, Fanny likely grew up learning to cook from her mother, making dishes that had been passed down for generations. Now, back in the old days, recipes were different from today. Both in books and out loud, the instructions were often cloudier than clam chowder, and the measurements could be downright silly. And we have some examples of measurements from old cookbooks. A suspicion of nutmeg is my favorite. Sugar to your taste. As many yolks of egg as may be necessary. Yeast sufficient to make them light. A good lump or dripping of butter. If Fanny had asked, how much salt should I put in this soup? Her mother might have answered, oh, a goodly amount. The reply to, and how much butter might have been the size of a chicken's egg. How long should I cook it? Why, till it's done, of course. Women weren't supposed to need exact measurements and instructions. Cooking was all about feminine instincts, after all. Now, here, my editor had the idea of, on a lot of the spreads, she just sprinkled in quotes. So there are a lot of quotes that aren't really part of the story, but it was really fun because I got to find these great quotes and then just kind of insert them as part of the illustrations. Fanny became a good cook. She loved cooking, but she never thought it could be a career. She had bigger plans. She was going to attend college and probably become a teacher, but at age 16, she came down with polio and lost the use of one of her legs. For several years, she lay in bed, forget finishing high school, forget becoming a teacher. When she did begin to walk again, it was with a strong limp. But Fanny was determined. Eager to be active and use her brain, she started cooking in her mother's kitchen, then at the home of a neighboring family. Her passion for cooking and baking rose up like a 7-layer cake. I used lots of food metaphors. It was really fun to come up with them. As Fanny whipped and simmered, something revolutionary was cooking in her head. Fanny, you see, had the mind of a scientist. Through trial and error, she noticed that precise measurements made a whole heap of difference. Standard measuring cups and spoons had been invented, but few people thought they were necessary. I mean, who needs standard measurements when you've got your trusty feminine instincts, right? Fanny's family and friends urged her to enroll in the Boston Cooking School. At the age of 31, she did so. And I just like to point out to kids, that's just like, so for back then, I mean, if you're 31, you're pretty old. You're not a young lady anymore. And that was very brave of her to do that and take such a huge step and go back to school, go to cooking school at age 31. Let us take a moment to be grateful. If she hadn't enrolled, we might all still be tossing in carefree pinches of baking powder and crossing our fingers that our Boston cream pie wouldn't come out flat as a pancake. Fanny was a top-notch student. After she graduated, she was invited to stay on, first as an assistant, then as the principal. Fanny was going to teach. Most people back then looked down on home cooking, generally the only kind that women did. Restaurant cooking was considered very important and only for men. But Fanny thought cooking for a family was serious business. It involved planning and budgeting, health and nutrition, and it deserved more than terms like a goodly amount and the size of an egg. Because honestly, how else could you ensure a recipe would come out the same each time? Fanny taught her students to be precise and thoughtful, like kitchen scientists. She taught them to level off the sugar rather than heaping it. She taught them that adding sugar to yeast would hasten fermentation. She taught them to roll the pastry away from them to prevent air bubbles, that the acid in tomatoes tenderized the meat, and to keep the fat at a consistent temperature while frying. A pharmacist wouldn't just toss in ingredients haphazardly and hope for the best, so why should a cook? Now this I love. This is a quote that was one of the actual notebooks that one of Fanny's students had, still exists, and on the inside cover the student wrote, "Miss F says if a cook can make a good cream cake, baking powder biscuits, and creamed codfish, she can cook almost anything." I just thought it was so cute. She calls her Miss F. Women loved Fanny's can-do attitude. They packed her classes. The cooking school did so well, new teachers were hired, and Fanny made sure each of them shared her enthusiasm and belief in science. But there was one more thing Fanny just had to do. The school cookbook was written in the old, murky way. Fanny decided to rewrite it. She obsessively tested every recipe. Her students helped too, and the school's kitchen became a chemistry lab. Her recipes instructed readers how to do the most basic actions, even stirring. In her cookbook, it says there on one page, to stir, mix by using circular motion, widening the circles until all is blended. Fanny wanted to make sure that anyone could master cooking. You didn't need luck, you didn't need expensive classes, and you certainly didn't need magical feminine instincts. Normally confident, Fanny worried. Would people like her book? The publisher she approached had doubts. They could publish the book, but they didn't want to pay for the printing. Fanny would have to cover that herself. By the way, this is just one of these fun little things. Sorry. Stop that.
Stop that.
He's not at all protective of us. Shush. Okay. This originally was a cigar, but then the editor, they nixed that because they figured it's not child friendly. So I figure kids can take looking at a cigar without, forcing them to take up smoking. But anyway, they easily changed it to a fountain pen. So
Nice.
one of those funny changes. So the publisher said, "Oh, fine, we'll publish your book, but you have to pay for it." And so Fanny did. So she fronted the money, but they said you can have all the profits because they figured it wouldn't make any money. Did Fanny slink home in embarrassment? I think you know the answer. Fanny agreed to pay if she could get most of the profits. Her business savvy was as sharp as a carving knife. "Fine," said the publisher, who didn't think the book would make much money anyway. Well, Fanny's strategy was a recipe for success. Her book was a hit, not just with students, but with home cooks all over the country. People liked that with Fanny at their side, they could make impeccable popovers and melt-in-your-mouth angel food cake. No guessing, no luck required. And this is the page where we got to do 2 recipes, so popovers and angel food cake. And I chose recipes that... I actually didn't even realize this till later, but I chose recipes that are very precise and they're not really difficult, but you absolutely have to follow the recipe exactly because, that's what Fanny was all about. That's what she believed in. So in a way, they're like perfect Fanny Farmer recipes. Everyone loved Fanny's book, but this revolutionary lady wasn't yet ready to set down her measuring spoons. She started her own cooking school, lectured all over the country, and even taught at Harvard Medical School. She taught about cooking for, forgetting the word, but people who are not invalids, people who are convalescents, people who are in the hospital. Because she had polio and been sick for so long, so she wrote a couple cookbooks about that, and she lectured at Harvard Medical School about that. Fanny kept on cooking for the rest of her life, and those of us who appreciate a perfect pie or delectable donut salute her, our mouths and tummies full. So this is the last spread, and I love this. What the illustrator decided to do is she took a recipe from Fanny's original book, and she let me choose it, so I chose the apple pie recipe. And then she actually printed that, but it's exactly the same as in the cookbook. She showed people from different eras and decades making different parts of the pie, and then the recipe is there. So that's they're making the crust, she's peeling the apples, and it's just trying to represent different groups, and I just love it. And that's it. And then so at the end is a lot of back matter, so we get all these awesome photos of Fanny, and this is the graduating class of 1900 in their white dresses, so charming, and just a lot more information about Fanny and about cooking and about why it was such an interesting time in food and culinary technology. Things were, the world, science was really coming into the kitchen, and Fanny was really supporting that and really part of that. So yeah, it was a really fun book to write and illustrate. I think
Yay! So, do you like cooking yourself? Do you have a favorite recipe of yours that you do?
Oh, well, I love cooking and I cook all the time. I will say that that if you were to look through the original, there are some recipes I would still make, but cooking tastes have changed a lot since 1896. There's a lot of weird stuff in here that we wouldn't make any more, like the whole chapter on salads. I don't think there's any lettuce, a lot of jello, a lot of gelatin. But so I don't actually cook from this. I have some more recent Fanny Farmer cookbooks like you do, and I do cook from those. Like I make the popovers. I learned to make popovers from Fanny Farmer.
Well, I think I did too.
Okay.
I think I did too. For the people who came late, this is my college cookbook that I still have, over 50 years old. All right.
Well, thank you for
Thanks,
holding up
Emma.
the book, and let's move on.
Well, so I had this idea, picturing an audience full of squirming children, that we would do a little breathing. But even though the adults aren't squirming, I think maybe it's going to benefit everybody
Sure.
to take a little minute to do
Sure.
this. So you can do it sitting or standing. It's up to you. But what we're going to do is inhale to a count of 5 and exhale to a count of 5, which is a form of pranayama, prana being life and yama being control. So indulge me in this. It'll just make everybody feel good. So we're going to inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll see as I read the book, obviously it's called Breath by Breath, why this becomes important.
And did you want to talk about how you got the idea for this, or about how this is the same illustrator as your previous book?
Well, I do want to say, shout out to Stephanie Arazo. She is the amazing illustrator who is based in Guadalajara, Mexico, that Lolly Publishing found. And for the first book, Treasure Hunt, she and I talked about the characters for that book. And the character Floor, who you'll meet, is based on her niece, whose name is Floor, who, so we wanted, representation matters, so we thought having a character that looked like her niece was pretty cool. But the inspiration for this book comes from one of the young men who are sitting here, who is one of the ways that we help him fall asleep is doing body scans. And we started thinking, maybe it would be a good thing for lots of kids to be able to learn about body scans. So I think I'll go ahead and read it.
Great.
Okay, so I'm going to hold the illustrations up.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Flor and Roberto, Big Brother Luis began. Let's show Mama and Papa we can go to sleep all by ourselves. Already? Said Flor. One more game? Begged Roberto. Please, the twins said at the same time. Jinx! Flor and Roberto poked each other. Aha, said Luis. You jinxed each other, which means you can't talk until I say your names. Now will you cooperate and go to bed? I have a surprise. Surprise going to bed? What do you think that could be? Flor and Roberto looked at each other, then back at their older brother. They nodded slowly. Okay, said Luis in his serious voice. Flor, Roberto, time for bed. When the twins settled down, Luis told them, we're going to have an adventure before we go to sleep. And if you look at the illustrations, you can see Estefania has left these little puppets, which are the puppets that they made in the first book.
Oh,
And
cute.
she embedded those, little Easter eggs in the book. Okay. When the twins settled down, Louise told them, we're going to have an adventure before we go to sleep. Sounds fun, said Roberto. I love adventures. How? Asked Flor. We're in bed. We're going inside our bodies, said Louise, like deep sea divers. What? The twins asked at the same time. Jinx, they said. Flor, Roberto, we're not jinxing here. We're going to sleep, Louise said. But really, how can we go inside our bodies? Asked Roberto. We follow our breath, said Louise. Start by closing your eyes, Louise told them. Take deep, slow breaths. Imagine you are riding a submarine with a shining light. Dive in from the top of your head. Look around inside your brain as you keep breathing slowly, just like we did. Inhale and exhale. Breathe in, breathe out. This is my favorite spread, so we get double. Follow the light down your throat, down into your heart. Hear your heart. Thump, thump, thump. Pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat. Feel the love inside, all around you. I feel it. That's Flor. Me too. That's Roberto. Shh. Remember, we are breathing here, not talking, Louise told them. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Shh. Now travel to your shoulders. Imagine you have 2 submarines, one at each shoulder. Flor urged Roberto, your sub should visit me, and my sub will visit you. Shh, Louise continued. Feel your shoulders and back. Slide down your arms to the elbows and down to your wrists. Feel every finger from your pinky to your pointer and your thumb. Give each a gentle jiggle. Perfect timing. You can rehearse that. Return to your chest near your heart. You feel your heart. Look around as you breathe, whispered Louise. Feel your lungs get bigger and smaller as you inhale and exhale. Follow the light down your tummy. Move down the legs and follow the light past your knees. Glide down the front of the leg to the ankle. Don't forget, deep breath in, deep breath out. Now check out your feet and visit each toe, from the pinky toe to the big toe. Inhale, exhale. Louise paused to breathe deeply, and the sound filled the room. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Come back to your heart, he spoke softly. Thump, thump, thump. Pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat, pit-a-pat. Feel the love inside and all around you. Feel the light warming your whole body. Louise pulled the blanket up to Roberto's chin. Roberto snored a little. Louise patted Flor's back. She smiled and sighed as he tiptoed toward the door. Sweet dreams, amiguitos. And the back matter allows for kids to follow where the body scan went. And we even have some paper for anyone who might want to draw their own. But I do want to shout out Estefania again because I love her illustrations. But really, all of you who are here are so special to me in so many different ways. You don't realize all the interconnections. But 2 of my dear critique partners are here who have heard this book so many times. I can't believe that they're here to hear it again. And of course, my grandchildren who have heard it a lot as well, and my daughter are, you know, and Carr, who has helped me from the very beginning of my very first book. So, and the rest of you all know how dear you are to me too. So I'm not going to name everybody, but it's pretty special. But I do want to tell the story of how this book got acquired, which is that Lolly Publishing, they're two women who are the owners of this company. And so when they got the book, it went through their acquisitions committee. One of them said to the other, "Wait a minute, I'm going to lie down." And she had the first one read her the book out loud. And then at the end she said, "Oh, I'm so relaxed, let's acquire this book." So that's
great.
That's how it came to be.
And are your 3 books all with the same publisher?
Those first 3 are, and there's a 4th coming in September from them, but then the 5th book that's coming in November is from a different publisher.
Oh, okay.
So I'm branching out.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. Exciting.
Yay.
So,
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah.
Questions about anything?
or we may be able to put you all to sleep, which is
We can.
all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We're here. Sign her book, you know, buy her books. I'm going to get one.
Excellent. Yay, thank you both.
That's fun.
Thank you.